Welcome to Simple Things, where small stories spark big changes and growth begins with honesty.
Have you ever looked at your life and thought, how did I get here? Some nights, I still ask myself that, not loudly, not dramatically, just in that quiet, tired way, like whispering into a mirror. My name is Claire. I'm 34. I live alone in a small apartment in Portland. Most days are quiet. I make coffee. I work from my laptop. I send a few emails. I scroll. And I smile. I smile a lot. But there was a time not too long ago when that smile felt like a mask that didn't fit anymore. A time when the silence around me started to echo something I didn't want to hear. It wasn't screaming. It wasn't chaos. It was worse. It was emptiness. The kind that follows you home. The kind that sleeps in the same bed. There were mornings I'd wake up with a heaviness I couldn't name. Even brushing my teeth felt like a task that required permission. I kept showing up to life. Though, I answered texts with emojis. I laughed at meetings. I made playlists titled Healing. But inside, I wasn't healing. I wasn't breaking down either. I was just disappearing. Slowly. I don't know exactly when it started. Maybe it was the night he left no closure. No final words. Maybe it was when my best friend got married and our late-night calls stopped. Maybe it was just life, creeping up behind me when I was too busy pretending I was okay. I used to think pain had to be loud to be real, but I've learned the quiet pain, the one no one sees, it leaves the deepest marks. This isn't a story with a hero. It's not a self-help video. It's just me, talking to a version of me that still doesn't know she'll make it out. And maybe, just maybe, I'm talking to you too. If you're still listening, I want to tell you something. I wish someone had told me when I felt invisible. You are not the only one. Even in this moment, wherever you are, however you're feeling, you're not alone. Back then, I wasn't anyone special. I was just Claire, 28, living in a rented apartment with too many houseplants and a Pinterest board titled My Future Life. I had a partner. We were together for 6 years. We shared Spotify playlists and Sunday mornings. We had inside jokes that made strangers feel left out. I thought that was enough. I thought that was it. I was working as a freelance designer, mostly for small clients, small pay, big dreams. My days were filled with colors, fonts, late nights, and too much coffee. I liked it. I really did. I liked the sense that I was building something, that one day, all this effort, all this planning would lead to a version of me I could finally be proud of. I had plans to grow my business, to marry him, to travel Italy, Greece, maybe Japan, to buy that cabin upstate and paint on weekends. I thought everything was lining up, because that's what you're supposed to do, right? Make a 5-year plan, meet your milestones, stay grateful, stay grounded, stay positive. But what no one really tells you is, sometimes you're doing everything right, and still, life stops cooperating. The relationship, it didn't end in screaming. It ended in silence, in slow fading, in one person needing more, and the other not knowing how to give it. One night he just looked at me not with anger, not with hate, just distance. And I realized I had already lost him a long time before that moment. And yet, I kept telling myself I was fine, because I had work, I had friends, I had purpose, I had all the markers of a functional adult. So why did I feel like I was constantly one conversation away from falling apart? People saw me as strong, resilient. Claire always bounces back, but I was tired of bouncing. Tired of pretending that quiet didn't hurt. Looking back, I can see it now. That version of me, she wasn't broken. She was just tired of holding everything up by herself. The night he left, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a blank space. He packed a small bag, said he needed time, and I said okay because I didn't know what else to say. I watched him walk out the door, and I just stood there, not crying, not begging, just standing, frozen in a silence that stretched so wide, it swallowed the whole room. I thought he'd come back. He didn't. That was the first time I truly felt it, the hollowness. Not grief, not sadness, just absence. An emptiness that followed me everywhere. In my coffee, in the spaces he used to sit, in the toothbrush I couldn't throw away. I tried to fill it with noise, podcasts, playlists, phone calls I didn't want to answer, but silence has a way of finding you, even in a crowded room. My work started to slip, deadlines passed, clients stopped replying. I couldn't focus. Every design felt meaningless. Every day blurred into the next. I started waking up at 2 a.m. for no reason, heart pounding, breath shallow, like my body remembered something my mind was trying to forget. People noticed. They asked if I was okay, and I said the same thing every time: I'm just tired. That phrase, "I'm just tired," became my shield. It was easier than explaining the truth, that I didn't know who I was without someone else to reflect me back, that I was afraid of being seen and more afraid of being invisible. I stopped showing up to things, friends' birthdays, dinner invites, even Zoom calls. I started to shrink my world into a space I could control, my apartment, my laptop, my routines. And yet, even in that controlled space, I couldn't escape the feeling that I was wasting something precious, that I was letting life pass through me, like water through cupped hands. I began scrolling obsessively, not out of interest, but out of habit, looking at people who seemed happy, married, successful, balanced, people my age younger, even living lives that looked like the one I had once imagined for myself. Comparison is cruel. It doesn't shout. It whispers, "Why aren't you there yet? What did you do wrong? Maybe it's just you." And when you hear those whispers long enough, you start to believe them. I started believing that I was behind, that I had failed, not in any one big, dramatic way, but in a slow, invisible erosion, like watching paint peel from a wall and thinking, "Wasn't this place beautiful once?" Then came the worst part. Not the loneliness, not the silence, but the numbness. I wasn't feeling anything anymore. Not hope, not despair, just a flat, quiet nothing. I remember sitting at the edge of my bed one morning, sun pouring through the blinds, and thinking, I don't know how to do this anymore. Not life, not grief, not pretending. I wasn't suicidal, but I also wasn't living. I was just here, occupying space, breathing in, breathing out, waiting for something, anything to shift. And I kept asking myself, if this is it, if this is what my life has become, then what was all the effort for? It didn't happen all at once. There was no breakthrough moment, no sunrise epiphany, just a morning like any other. It was raining, the soft, gray kind of rain that makes the whole world feel muted. I hadn't slept much the night before. My inbox was full. My fridge was empty. Everything felt heavy, and I didn't have the strength to pretend otherwise. I was looking for an old password in my email when I stumbled upon something I had completely forgotten about. A letter. A letter I had written to myself at 25 through one of those online future email things. It was scheduled to arrive 5 years later. I had missed it. It had been sitting there for weeks. I opened it, and I swear something in me cracked. It was messy and idealistic and full of phrases like, "Don't lose your spark and remember why you started." But there was this one line, one sentence I couldn't stop reading. "You're not supposed to have it all figured out. Just promise me you won't stop showing up." I read that line 5 times, 10, 20, and then I cried. Not the quiet, single tear kind, but the ugly, shaking, uncontrollable kind, the kind that says, "There you are. I thought I lost you." That night, I didn't change my life, but I changed something smaller. I wrote back. Not to send, not to share, just to speak, to say I'm still here, I'm still trying. From then on, I wrote every day. 3 lines, sometimes 10, sometimes none, but I kept the pen moving. And slowly, without realizing it, I started hearing my own voice again. Not the polished one I used for clients, not the cheerful one I used on calls, but the quiet, raw, unsure voice that said, "I don't know what's next, but I want to find out." I started therapy. It wasn't magic, it wasn't easy, but it gave me language for things I didn't know how to name. I started moving my body again, not for weight, not for goals, but to feel myself alive in it. I joined a small painting group at the community center. No one there cared about careers or Instagram aesthetics. They just wanted to paint. I made soup. I walked in silence. I read fiction. I lit candles for no reason. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't chasing transformation. I was choosing presence. And you know what? It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was soft and slow and deeply human. But it was mine. The pain didn't vanish. The loneliness didn't disappear. But I began to understand something. Pain isn't the enemy. It's the messenger. And if I stopped running from it long enough to listen, I could finally hear what it had been trying to say all along. You're still here. You still matter. Even now. People think success looks like big milestones. Promotions, engagements, a house, a baby, a 6-figure income. But for me, success looked like brushing my hair 3 days in a row, like answering a friend's call and not pretending to be okay, like laughing, really laughing, and realizing I wasn't faking it this time. It looked like a quiet morning on my balcony, a cup of coffee in hand, sunlight on my knees, and the sudden, shocking realization. I feel peaceful, not ecstatic, not invincible, just here, alive, breathing, present. And that was enough. I started to notice things again. The sound of birds at 6 a.m., the way the air changes right before it rains, the way my heart softens when I speak gently to myself. I no longer needed my life to look perfect. I just needed it to feel real. And somewhere along the way, without marking a date or a finish line, I stopped surviving and started living. Not every day is beautiful. I still have bad weeks. I still get scared. But now, I trust myself enough to face them. I don't need all the answers. I just need to keep asking the right questions. Questions like, what if nothing is wrong with me? What if this isn't a detour, but part of the path? What would happen if I chose to believe I'm worthy right now, as I am? And maybe, just maybe, that's the most powerful thing your future self could ever tell you. You made it through, and one day, you'll look back on this pain, not with bitterness, but with grace. So, if you're in it right now, if you're in the dark, the numbness, the fog, please know this. There is another side. And when you reach it, you won't be the same person. You'll be softer, kinder, wiser, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. If this story found you at the right moment, maybe it's because you've been holding something inside, too. Maybe you've been carrying pain that no one sees. Maybe you've been waiting for someone to say, I get it. I've been there. And you're not the only one. Well, Consider this that moment. Consider this your reminder. You don't have to explain everything to be understood. You don't have to be fixed to be worthy of love. You don't have to be strong all the time to be seen. Sometimes, healing begins with being witnessed, not rescued, not solved, just seen. So, if any part of this felt familiar, if you saw even a flicker of yourself in these words, I invite you to stay a little longer. Subscribe, not because I need the number, but because this space, this quiet little corner of the internet, was made for people like us. The ones still figuring it out. The ones who laugh during the day and cry quietly at night. The ones who are tired of pretending and ready to be real. And if you feel safe enough, share something below. A thought, a memory, a version of your younger self that could use a little kindness. Tell me what your future self would say to you now. And if that feels like too much, just write, I'm still here. Because sometimes, that's more than enough. Thank you for sitting with me this far. I see you, and I'm glad you're here.